Yeah, I was the red flag in my relationship. 10 raw lessons I've learned as an anxious attached partner. Today's episode, I'm pulling back the curtains on something no one really wants to admit, but sometimes we are the red flag in our relationships. So don't tell anyone though. For 30 years, I had an anxious attachment style, constantly fishing for compliments because I never felt good enough, analyzing every mood shift as a sign of something was wrong, turning small moment of silences into evidence that they will leave me, they will abandon me, that I'm not good enough, that they don't actually like me and want to be around me. If you've ever spent hours analyzing what their I'm fine response really means, maybe felt your stomach drop when their mood changes slightly, and you're very good at noticing those kind of things, found yourself never quite believing their reassurance or their love for you, maybe worried that you're fundamentally unlovable. If this is you, hands up, and this episode is really for you. So what changed everything for me? Within 6 months of understanding my attachment patterns, I transformed into this secure version of myself, into the best version of myself. Of course, I'm still working on myself, but I became so much more secure. This transformation was so profound that I really wanted to share this with others, and that's why I'm a relationship coach nowadays, helping really others to create a transformation like I did, because it is literally not just a change in your relationship, in your health, in all areas of your life. So recognizing that you might be the red flag in your relationship, well, one of the 2 red flags, is a really great step towards your best version, towards taking accountability. And this is not about shaming yourself or blaming yourself. It's about owning up to what you can do to improve. And it's about empowerment to realize, what, this is something I can work on. So let me work on my part and clean up my side of the street. It's about finally understanding why your relationship keep following the same painful script, because so many of my clients come to me and saying, what, I finally realized out of all my relationships, I'm the common nominator, is this what you say? I'm the common thing that happens in all my relationships. So, and if this sounds like you, this might be also very important for you. So hopefully this is going to give you a lot of clarity, because I really wish someone would have told me all of these lessons years and years ago. Disclaimer, I'm not a therapist or a doctor. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or heal any mental health condition. If you're in an abusive relationship or dealing with severe mental health challenges, always seek professional advice. So grab your coffee, get comfy. So here we go. First lesson is believing relationships should be 50-50. And I think that is kind of more a myth. And this is very controversial. A lot of people think relationships should be 50-50. And I used to believe this too, but hang on. So I used to cling onto this idea that healthy relationships meant an equal split, equal effort, emotional labor, investment. And when things felt then unbalanced, I would either overcompensate or feel really, resentful towards my partner for them not stepping up enough. And I always felt like, hey, he should do more. Why isn't he doing more? And why am I the one who's just pulling in with all my weight? And my partner should meet me halfway, right? If he loved me, he would do all of these things. But here is what I have learned. Relationships are not meant to be 50-50. Some days you might give 80% and maybe your partner gives 120%. Maybe on other days, maybe your partner gives just 40% while you give 100%. Never really 50-50. It depends on your energy levels, on your attachment wounds as well. If you're someone who's chasing out of fear, you will be always the one who's giving more. And if your partner feels then triggered by this or overwhelmed and thinks this is too much, then they will withdraw more and more. So they will give less. So there's a lot of reasons behind why it's not 50-50 and also how we can shift things. So as an anxious attacher, I kept score at relationships. And I see this a lot of my clients too, noticing how many times they text me or initiate things first, or who apologize first or more often, or who's more engaging in conversations or planning date nights or things like this. Keeping score kept me trapped in my kind of transactional mindset rather than just being there for each other and loving each other for who we are and how we just show up in our relationship. Yes, you can address things when they're a fundamental issue, but not by adding meaning to things, because our partner should give in the same energy as we do. So when we focus on that everything has to be balanced, you miss this, beautiful asymmetric thing that is just very natural, and it's like this flow, it's like a wave. Sometimes you give more, sometimes you give less, and it's so natural. Lesson number 2 is pushing healing, in air quotes, onto my partner and people I really loved. So I thought if they would just knew about attachment theory, emotional mastery, like breath work, processing emotions, and all of this stuff, then they would be just obsessed with it as I am and want to become securely attached, because for me, it changed everything. So I was just, hoping once I share this with them, they would do the same things as I would do. Get coached and invest in coaching programs, learn through YouTube or podcasts or all of these things. But I was wrong. So I sent them maybe articles, Reddit posts, or threads or whatever you call them, podcasts, breathwork sessions on YouTube, name it, I did it. And when you see someone suffer, you kind of think, what, I can help. And everyone could do this thing that I did, but it doesn't work this way. It just did the opposite. Like, for example, with my partner, avoidance, someone who has an avoidant attachment style already feeling like a failure, not being good enough, really being flawed, thinking there's something wrong with them, and also losing independence at the same time. So my pushing on, what, you can become securely attached, on attachment theory, on regulating your nervous system or dealing with stress differently, was pushing it. I was trying to change something I couldn't change. I can't change other people. By me pushing this, just reinforced this trigger, their core wound, his core wound. And in truth, it's not my job to fix other people, even though I really love to inspire them and help them out, but it's not my job. And unless someone actually comes to me, and wants to invest in my coaching programs or want to heal with me, but in my friend circle, in my family circle, I need to take a step backwards and take my coaching hat off and be just me, Yula. So the next lesson was that chase is a trauma response. That hit you get from kind of chasing your partner for validation or reassurance. And when you finally get his attention, when you finally get his reply back, or when they finally call you or give you a compliment, even reassure you, spend a night with you, it feels like relief, validation, proof that you matter, proof that you are chosen, that you're a priority. But the problem is the chase creates this high and you keep needing more. And when your avoidant partner pulls back, you spiral. Here's what I've come to understand myself. This chase is actually a trauma response. It's exactly like this golden retriever, black cat energy theory I think on TikTok. I'm not sure who started this, but you've probably seen it somewhere. The chaser is this golden retriever, being, the people pleaser, being the good boy, good girl, a good person who wants approval, who's very cuddly and soft and has a heart full of gold and wanting attention, while the black cat is really more independent, mysterious, wants, her space. And that kind of is the same dynamic here. When one chases, guess what the other person does? You just run, right? It reminds me of our dog, of like my partner's family dog, Maya. When we chase her, she runs away. But the same for me. As soon as I run a bit away, she chases me. It's just a natural dynamic. So when your partner then runs, let's say runs or, withdraws or gets more silent, this is not personal. It's not about you. It's more about them. Trying to understand your partner is the biggest thing here you can really do. So your avoidant partner feels safe in distance without overwhelmed, without being smothered or suffocated, because they feel like, they're independent, and this is how they learn to self-soothe and to regulate their nervous system kind of by avoiding things. So you feel safe through closeness. The closer you are with someone, learn, the more safe you feel. Neither of us is wrong or right, and both of us can really learn from each other. That's really the secret here. And you're just both operating from different attachment wounds. But as long as you keep chasing, they will keep running. Lesson 4 I've learned is reacting to conflict like it's a crisis. That's what I used to do. So I used to panic every time a conflict would happen, like is this huge bad thing? And because subconsciously I thought conflict equals divorce, because that's happened to my parents eventually. So I was really like rewired for this is a really bad negative thing that will get me to being abandoned in the end. I would over apologize, I would blame myself, would demand instant reassurance, and I would walk on eggshells. But fighting or avoiding things completely won't solve anything. It just deepens this anxious-avoidant cycle and reinforces your wounds and your partner's wounds. Conflict is not the problem, actually. How you handle it is the problem here. So a secure person, can sit with discomfort, communicate clearly and directly in the moment, not like, was it 4 weeks later or 4 months, and trust that disagreement doesn't mean rejection. It's actually an opportunity for growth and to work together on the problem, against the problem, not against each other. So if you learn to hold space for yourself instead of reacting from fear, you'll stop falling into the same painful patterns. By the way, before we continue with the next lesson, I have a quick announcement. I know so many of you have been asking about my course, Anxious Stay Secure course, and I literally can't believe it's been now, I think, 7 months in work. And it's taking me longer to create this course than to actually heal my anxious attachment style, which is crazy to believe. But that's my little perfectionist still in me, and I refuse to give you anything that doesn't create really a real transformation in the fastest amount possible. So please bear with me. And this isn't just another course about attachment theory. This is really my signature framework that works directly with your subconscious mind, which drives 95% of your relationship behaviors. Inside the blueprint, you will get specific techniques to rewire your nervous system and your subconscious mind. You will get really my 4-step method to heal your anxious attachment style, and lots of other methods that really help you to manage your emotions, get your needs met in a healthy, detached way, to learn grounded, detached communication, learn to self-soothe, challenge your beliefs, to create new beliefs, and so much more. So when is it coming? This blueprint is going to be launched. I've already delayed it twice, so I don't want to make any promises. It's going to be latest, I think, in 2 months. But I just recommend to highly get on the waitlist so you don't miss when the launch is, because the first few days is going to be extremely reduced. So jump on the waitlist, which is going to be linked in the description below. So lesson number 5, not trusting myself or my relationship really. At the core of my anxious attachment style is this. I didn't really trust that I was thinking this, that was me at that time. I was like, I don't trust that I will be okay if I leave. And so, I have to grip tighter into what I have right now. That is the root cause of everything. So we chase, we micromanage, and we overthink. But again, real security comes from trusting ourselves first, trusting that you can handle emotions, to self-soothe, to validate yourself, to cheer yourself up when things go bad. And the moment you stop making your partner responsible for your emotional safety, everything can shift. Lesson 6, I think fear and anxiety control my actions. That's also really, really big one, big red flag for relationships. So for years, I avoided my biggest fear, the fear of being abandoned. I thought if I just tried harder, if I tried hard enough, I could prevent the pain. But in doing so, I ignored the truth that I already lived in fear every single day. So I let my anxiety control most of my actions when my partner didn't text back, when he seemed distant, when he needed space or wanted to meet up with friends, cancelled plans or any of this and didn't give me any compliments, for example. My nervous system went into overdrive. I felt like this emotional trigger was this huge, this fire alarm went off and my heart was pounding, and yeah. What I didn't understand was that my brain couldn't distinguish between real threats and perceived threats. So the thing is, the amygdala, our brain's alarm system, reacts the same way or very, very similar to emotional discomfort as it does to physical danger. So this is why anxiety feels so intense, because your body floods with the same stress hormones as it would be if there would be like a predator in front of you, like a big tiger or something like this, right? So the key is really isn't trying to eliminate the triggers and thinking this is a bad thing, but rather to, teach your nervous system that you can handle discomfort, handle any emotions, handling the moment between when there's space in your relationship, when your partner doesn't give you all the attention, when they don't reassure you, when they don't do the thing that you would love them to do. And this is kind of expanding your window of tolerance by building your capacity more and more, step by step, 1% at a time. And this practice takes really time, but you can rewire your brain this way more and more, because your brain's language is action. You teach everything through action. So if you reply to your partner very fast, or if you overthink, this is an action step you take, and this teaches your brain, hey, you know what, this is important, this might be a dangerous thing, so I better watch out here. But if you just sit in your discomfort and take a step back and breathe and slow down, you teach your brain more and more that everything is okay, that you're okay, and that your future will be okay as well, and you can handle anything that there will be in your future waiting for you. And maybe even your future will be so much better than you have envisioned for yourself. So lesson number 7 is mistaking intensity for intimacy. So here's something I was a little bit too embarrassed to admit for years. I confused kind of this drama and intensity with depth and connection, which is kind of, I think, common as well. This roller coaster of anxiety and relief. Anxiety created this false sense of intimacy. When like through movies we are being taught there's this roller coaster and this high, this is love, but it's actually not. From a neurobiological perspective, this makes perfect sense, because the dopamine hit from this intermittent reinforcement, sometimes getting what you need, sometimes not, is incredible addictive. It's like you need more. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling so compelling and so addictive again. Your brain becomes wired to this chase of that high, same as if you're scrolling through social media and there's all these colors and the text and the sound and the videos and all of this, especially TikTok is especially good at that. So real intimacy isn't about intensity, it's about consistency, safety, and genuine vulnerability. So it feels calm and not chaotic. If your relationship feels like a constant chaotic roller coaster where you feel drained and then you really seek excitement, that's not passion, it's more like insecurity, and you're addicted to the drama, to this trauma that you experienced when you were younger, to this hot and cold, to this inconsistent upbringing. Lesson number 8, ignoring more core wounds and patterns. So remember how I was talking about, identifying your core wounds. Mine was abandonment, and it was shaped every aspect of how I showed up in relationships. But I failed to see how my core wounds was also creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. And our core wounds are formed in childhood. So when you have an abandonment wound, you're constantly scanning for signs that someone is pulling away. And the problem, you'll always find these signs and the evidence if you're looking for it, even if it's not there, because your brain is only focusing on the beliefs that already exist in your belief storage system. Even if there's, say, one piece of evidence that people will leave or that you're not good enough, and 50 pieces of counter evidences, anyways, your brain will always seek out this one piece of evidence that you are not good enough or that people will leave. So healing really happens when you recognize that your present reactions are often responses to past pain. You can't heal what you haven't acknowledged. So name your core wounds, understand your patterns, realize when they show up, journal about them. Only then you can begin to relate from your present adult self to a wounded, inner child self. And the next lesson is failing to set loving boundaries. So this was one of my biggest blind spots as well. I thought boundaries were like an ultimatum. It was very terrifying because if you have an anxious attachment style, if you set a boundary, you think you push people away. It feels too risky. So I allowed behaviors that, depleted me, that again proved that I wasn't good enough. Again, that's, where the self-fulfilling prophecy comes to play again. And that just reinforced my insecurities. But what I've learned, that setting boundaries isn't about controlling others. It's about honoring yourself. It's an act of self-love and self-respect. And the more you do this, the more you increase your self-esteem, because you prove, hey, you know what? I am good enough and I can say no. And even if people should leave, at least they're not my people. Lesson 10. Writing an atmosphere of criticism instead of appreciation. Sometimes I didn't realize until I was deep into my healing journey. The wounds we speak out loud have exponentially more impact than your thoughts we actually think. Now, our thoughts are already very powerful. So I was constantly criticizing myself and my partner, nagging, pointing out flaws, and trying to, find things that were not right and should be improved, and, to raise the bar higher and higher to see if he was able to keep up. What I didn't see was the atmosphere. The negativity was poisoning everything. So thinking negative thoughts out loud is harmful, but saying them out loud really stings. It kills your relationship, and it's even proven through the Gottmans that, one of the killers of a relationship and that leads to the divorce is actually criticism and defensiveness. But your partner only gets defensive to, say, 80% of the time if you start with criticism first, or something that makes them feel like, hey, I'm getting criticized, I'm getting attacked. So when I started intentionally speaking about appreciation, noticing what was actually working instead of saying, what was not working, vocalizing my gratitude, even when not everything was perfect, but I was focusing on the things that were going well. And even when you want to express a need, express it in a way with using positive emotions. For example, I love it when we hang out together. Can we do this weekend? Instead of saying we never hang out anymore. And lastly, I want to say something very important as well. This ripple effect of becoming secure is so powerful. So here's what no one really tells you about attachment work. Becoming secure doesn't just change your romantic relationships or friendships, it transforms all areas of your life. When you show up differently, knowing deep down that if this relationship doesn't work out, something better will come along, and that you're good enough even without having to convince yourself or others, it creates this huge shift. I can't even explain this. So, suddenly like friendships deepen, the bond you have with your family and other people around you, you're not coming from this anxiety place, you're coming from this love and this deep grounded place of self-trust and knowing everything will work out no matter how. And yeah, people treat you differently because you are treating yourself differently and you're showing up differently in the world. And this isn't just, manifestation, magic. It's really concrete reality of what's happening when you start operating from a place of security and feeling grounded in yourself and having trust in yourself. Everything will work out no matter how. And this ripple effect of becoming secure is the greatest gift you can give to yourself, to your friends, to your kids, to everyone in your environment. If I would go back, I wouldn't spend years trying to get my partner to change. I would pour this energy into me. I would learn the tools that I needed to detach, build confidence, and heal my wounds, because this shows I would be able to stop the chains, reset this power play, and I wouldn't live in fear anymore. I wouldn't live in constant doubt of my relationship, my partner, and myself. I would really be conscious of how I think and what I say out loud. And I'm going to add in the description of your podcast or on YouTube, actually 7 journaling prompts. You can just write down for yourself that really can transform this part for yourself, that can make a huge difference. If today's episode resonated with you, my Anxious to Secure Blueprint is coming in soon. Jump on the waitlist, is linked below. Check out my courses and any free resources. Check out my links again. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Remember, change in your relationship starts with you, thought by thought and action by action. I see you in the next one. Much love, Yula. Bye.